This is Mike with Life the Basic Manual, talking about NHRA drag racing. Right now is coming up on the end of the season. We got 2 races left. The next race is October 25th in Las Vegas. And up until this point, when the countdown started, Steve Torrence with the Capco team has taken Top Fuel by a storm. They've went on to win the last 4 races in the event. Clay Millican's been up there, but last weekend he got put out in like the 2nd round. So that kind of dropped his points, and there are probably 2 people below Steve Torrence that have maybe any kind of shot. And that's Clay Millican. He's a minus 169 behind Steve Torrence, and Tony Schumacher, which is 210 points behind. Leah Pritchett's a long shot at 295. But whenever you're dealing with a Top Fuel dragster, 500 cubic inch, blown, producing 10,000 horsepower and nitromethane's in the tank, anything can happen. Steve Torrence could come to the next 2 races and foul out in first round and and give Clay Millican a chance at winning the championship, or Tony Schumacher. So that's where kind of long shot Clay Millican, Tony Schumacher in the Top Fuel category. In the funny car category is more of a tight, Robert Height is number 1, R Todd, he's minus 11, Ron Capps at minus 109, Tim Wilkerson 111, and Tommy Johnson Jr. at a minus 149. So funny car is more tight with what's going on, and I mean that can change at any given point in the next 2 races. And same thing happens with funny car is 10,000 horsepower burning nitromethane. There's a lot that can happen in the race. Moving on to pro stock, Tanner Gray is another one that's been rookie, 2nd year into it, and he's taken pro stock by a storm, and that's Jay Coughlin's a minus 130 points behind Tanner Gray, Vincent Nobile minus 136, Drew Skillman minus 153, Erica Enders minus 171. So that I mean Tanner Gray, pro stock is not so much of the Top Fuel and funny car. Pro stock is a little more tight. When they race, it's all within thousandths of a second of each other. So that's more the driver being on their game, cutting good lights. Here it seems like in pro stock is whoever gets off the line first usually wins the race. And then you have pro stock motorcycle, which is another one of reaction time, being able to tune the bike up good. Matt Smith right now is leading the points. Ellie Tonglitz minus 41 behind him. Eddie Krawick minus 56. Jerry Savoie minus 100 points. Andrew Hines minus 138. Hector Arana Jr. minus 138. So there again, it's very tight in the pro stock motorcycle category, and it's anybody's game in pro stock motorcycle. They just got to be able to go win races, qualify good, try getting as many of them small qualifying points. And that's the other thing that plays into this is qualifying points. During the 4 qualifying sessions, the top qualifier in that session earns 3 points. the second one earns 2 points, and the third one earns a point. So by the time qualifying's done, they could have almost got a round of racing on their competitor if they qualify good. If they qualify at the top of the heat every round. So, you know, the little bonus points right now are really adding up. And then you go to the finals in Pomona, and it's a 1.5 points for qualifying and 30 points around for winning. So, you know, I mean, there's another huge margin of points that can be gained in any one of these categories. And you know, so, you know, NHRA is definitely, if you're an NHRA fan, it's excellent. I love going to the races, you know, and my passion is drag racing. They run 24 races in a season. You have 1 to 18 races is basically the normal season, and everybody is jockeying for position for the top 10 in points. After Indianapolis, which is the 18th race, starts the countdown to the championship, which therefore the top 10 in each categories are racing now for the championship. You know, and that's what makes the last 6 races, you know, very vital in, you know, how they come up to, you know, the first 18 races. They you know, test different parts, test this, test that, to, you know, be able to go into the champion or the countdown hoping that what they've tested previously they can use in the countdown and try gaining a leg up on their competition. So that's the deal with the last 6 races is, and then they all start at, you know, the one guy, the top guy, and then the second one has 30 points, minus 30 points, and then it's minus 10 points.
Okay.
Everyone down. So top fuel is Steve Torrence.
So Steve Torrence has got the top amount of points.
The top amount of points.
The next guy down has got minus 30. And then the next.
And then it's 10 points.
10. So if when he won in Charlotte, in Carolina, how many points does he get for that win of that meeting? So the max amount of points you can win during a one race is, if you get all 3 qualifying sessions, 3 points. That's 12 points. So 3 points per qualifier win. And then you have 100 points during race day, so you can accumulate 112 points. Okay. So he accumulated 112 points? No, he didn't accumulate 112. I don't think he got top qualifying runs on every run. Okay. So the only way you accumulated that is if in all 4 qualifying sessions you are the top qualifier, and you go on to win the race. So, but then you got the other guys that are racing that also are accumulating points right along with them. That's what makes it so tight. So if you got, you know, first and second on the points that are on different sides of the ladder, and they meet in the final round, during that whole time they've been accumulating the same amount of points. So then it comes down to the final round of who can gain that extra 20 points. So there's only 20 difference. There could only be 20 points difference. There could only be 20, theoretically there could be, you know, 20 points, but then you have the qualifying little points. Yeah. You know, but during the race there could only be a 20-point difference. Wow. So, you know, Clay Millican, when he went into the race, you know, he was keeping up until the second round when he went out, and that gave Steve Torrence an extra 60 points. It was only 109, but Steve Torrence got 60 more points on him. Okay. You know, that's where it can get, you know, tricky as you're, you know, hopefully what you're hoping for
is to be on the same side of the ladder. Then you put the destiny in your own hands. Can you go up against this guy in round 2 and knock him out, so then you can accumulate that many more points?
So Clay Millican's running second.
Yeah, Clay Millican is running second.
And Torrence?
Torrence is the top one, but, you know, in top fuel, I mean, it's second through 4th, I mean, is a long shot of something happening, and, you know, because you only get 112 points, and, you know, you would have to go out in the second round or even the first round for, you know, the second guy to even be able to catch up to him. So okay. I mean, top fuel is a long shot of Clay Millican or Tony Schumacher even being able to win the championship. My personal opinion is Steve Torrence is going to go on and win the championship. I mean, because it's so much of a gap that you hardly ever see that big of a comeback in the second 2 races. You know, funny car, absolutely. You're talking, you know, little, you know, in just qualifying, if R Todd out-qualifies Robert Height, you know, going into the finals, he could be number 1. So, I mean, it's really tight in...
Do they have different sets of points for each, for funny car compared to top fuel?
No, they're all the same. It's all calculated the same. Okay. So there is no difference in points. It's all calculated out the same.
So how come funny car so close compared to top fuel?
You know, it's the... you know, there hasn't been that big explosive winner like Steve Torrence. You know, when Steve Torrence started the countdown, he told all of the crew people after every run, I'm not doing any interviews, I'm staying focused on the race. After the race I'll do my interviews, but during finals on Sunday I won't do any interviews. I'm staying focused, I'm staying, you know, and it's helped him. He's won the first 4 races. I mean, he's absolutely, you know, in that zone of, you know, leaving the line, you know, and just that focus, that being, you know, dead on the tree, leaving first. I mean, he's just doing everything right. And, you know, funny car is not so much, you know. They've had, you know, one guy win and go out the first round, and that's why the points are really close in, you know, in funny car, and the points in pro stock motorcycle are, you know, really close. Pro stock motorcycle, pro stock car, I think Tanner Gray's going to go on to win the championship, because he, you know, he's a young kid. He's got that focus. He's got that, you know, that drive to win. And this is going to be his last season driving, and then he's going to move off to some truck racing or NASCAR or something. You know, he's leaving NHRA. So, you know, he wants to go out on the high note. And, yeah, he's a really focused young kid, you know, 18, 19 years old. He'll be the youngest person in NHRA history to hold a championship, if he can go on and win the championship.
In pro stock.
In pro stock, or any category, you know. So yeah, he's got that focus of a young kid wanting to do well.
So let me ask you this: Steve Torrence, when he's coming in, when they're staging the race, he's waiting until the opponent is ready, and then he just pulls forward. He knows as soon as he's staged the car, he's got, you know, the starter turns on the Christmas tree. He knows when that's going to happen. He knows he's got a half a second, and bam, he's gone, man. He's like,
he's definitely, you know, Tony Schumacher calls it the machine, being able to go up there and do that same routine every time on the starting line, being able to, you know, focus, go in second, know exactly when he pulls in, you know, that 4/10. But the Christmas tree is alternated, so they've changed it from what it was. It was always the same for the longest time, and then they've put a nuance on the Christmas tree where it's like a half a second to 1.3 seconds after the Christmas tree is activated as when the amber light comes down.
Okay, so it isn't a set time every time.
It's not a set time.
Fuck.
You know, so they'll talk about, oh, that was a long light, because that was on the longer side of when the tree's activated. Sometimes they pull in and it's like, bam, you know, that it's straight yellow.
Light. Yeah.
You know, they'll pull in and it's like a long light before they, you know, before it's activated.
So Steve Torrence is the man. Steve
Torrence is the man. You know, he's, you know, and last season, I mean, he was the man, but he wrecked in Dallas. He wrecked his car, and that kind of sent him on, you know, pulling out a car he hadn't tested before, and that's how he lost the championship last year.
Who won last year?
Last year it was Brittany Force, you know, who came around Steve Torrence at the very end, and, you know, and took it from him.
Wow. And how did Leah get on last year?
Leah, I think Leah was maybe 3rd or 4th in the points at the end of last year. You know, but Leah's another one that, you know, definitely got the makings for a champion. I can see Leah, you know, prevailing to that championship spot. You know, she's got, you know, she's got it what it takes, and you know, and I always, when I'm rooting, I always root for the underdog, and I always root for the women. You know, because in my eyes, they're always going to be the underdog to the men, because, you know, it was always professed as a man's sport, and then you got women that are starting to come in and take over, and you know, and you know,
and do well.
And do well, exactly, you know, and they're, you know, and it's just, you know, I'm always, you know, even my favorite drivers, if they're up there, I always like rooting for the underdog, you know. I always like to see the underdog prevail, you know, because I like to see that tightness at the end of the year. I really like to see them, like, really dig deep, you know, put their soul into it, and, you know, and want it. And that's what makes it interesting, when you have it so tight at the end of the year that it goes to, you know, Pomona, the very last race, maybe the very last run in Pomona, to see who wins the championship. That's what makes it interesting. That's what gets you on the edge of the seat, you know. When people go to Vegas, I mean, let's say Steve Torrence goes to Vegas, out-qualifies everybody and wins the race. You know, in Vegas, he could be crowned champion. You know, that very last race, he wins the final in Vegas, he could be crowned the champion, because there won't be enough
points available
for anybody else to win.
Well, we'll be in Vegas watching him, so let's
Vegas.
Let's see how we go.
And yeah, and you'll see a lot of interviews. Hopefully, Dave will get you some good insight, some, you know, some one-on-one interviews. Maybe you can talk with Steve Torrence and Robert Hite and Tanner Gray, and, you know, and put some of their interviews before the race even happens, Thursday.
Yeah.
You know, and whenever the, you know, everybody gets a shot to tell their tale to tape, you know. So that's what I'll be looking for, is you to interview the top 4 before the race, and see what their take is on it.
Yeah, yeah. Nice one, Mike. Thanks.
Yeah.